everyone. Today, this is our very important webinar on Know Your Rights, the voting rights. On behalf of the New American Democratic Club, I am Rubaya Rahman. I am inviting you to participate in our very important topic on voting rights. So thank you for joining us. Today we have our founder, president, Mr. Murshid Alam for New American Democratic Club. Thank you, Murshid Bhai, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Right.
My greetings to all of you.
Okay, and today's our main speaker is our very good friend, Lara Gregory, attorney, and she is also a community board member. So thank you and welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Rubaya. I'm so honored to be your guest tonight. You know that both your organization and, of course, the Democratic Club are both close to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. And, of course, Jerian Kasipag, right? I pronounced it right?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you for joining us. And we hope we'll have a very nice discussion and would very much like to hear from both Mr. Murshid Alam and Lara Gregory, because there are a lot of things about voting. We always hear at the time of election and whenever there is something going on in general election, local election, we talk about that, what is we need to vote, and a lot of talking about voting and our rights. But you know what? Sometimes as a general people, we don't know actually what does it mean by voting, or who we are going to vote, where are we going to vote. And there are so many changes every year in the voting arena. So today we'd like to hear first from Lara that what we know or who can vote.
Thank you, Rubaya. You know, I think there was a lot of discussion actually because the city council passed a law that allows non-citizens, non-U.S. citizens to vote now. So approximately, I think 800,000 permanent residents in New York City will be eligible to vote starting January 2023. And that is a huge measure, and that's a huge turning point. And you're actually totally right that even with the voting of non-permanent residents, even citizens, we know of citizens who are not aware of how to register or how to register for elections, right? So I think a good start would be for the Democratic clubs to understand the importance of their role, which is really to make sure that every person knows that New York is a democratic state. It makes sense to be a member of a Democratic club, as well as, of course, to register as a Democrat because they are able to participate in the primary local elections. Now, going back to the law that we were just talking about, it allows permanent residents to vote, but it would only be for primary municipal elections, meaning when for the public advocate, for mayors, they are able to vote. And a lot of people welcome this proposal. Of course, we will not talk about the rationality of the law, but it is already the law. And a lot of people welcome that because of the ability to participate in determining who will be leading or representing them in this great city of ours. So what are the main takeaways? The main takeaway, of course, is to continue the great work that your Democratic Club is doing, which is to educate the voters on how to vote, where to vote, and how to register. We will go into the details of that later on because I understand that this will be a series of discussions actually. But right now we are we are sort of marrying the importance of having the Democratic Club as well, because they're primarily the engine that will drive registration, not just as a voter, but as a democratic voter. And the rationale for that really is that there is so much more choices when you are in the Democratic primary elections, because there are usually more candidates for the Democratic primary. And again, the most important takeaway is that unless you are a member of the party, the person cannot vote during the Democratic primary elections. I just want to take a moment also to emphasize that I know that a lot of your viewers don't know that aside from the fact that I'm an attorney in New York City, I want others to know also my story, which is that I became a lawyer because I have a brother who has a disability and he had cerebral palsy. And I was the younger sister who was defending my older brother against kids who did not understand his conditions, which is why it is important and it's close to my heart, your organization, Rubai's organization, as well as the fact that those who have less in life should have more in law. What does that mean, and how does that connect to the fact that we are talking about voting rights? Well, parents are the primary advocates of their children who are disabled. And the same thing again, today is Martin Luther King, and he was the one who said, everyone can be great because anybody can serve. Our venue for service is our engagement in the local city government, in the local elections, and what is happening in our community. And the best venue for that as well is through the democratic clubs and through voting. Because when we use the power to vote, we are able to give more power to those who are usually disenfranchised, like those who have disability and those who are new and do not know what is going on in the city or in the city that they reside in, particularly immigrants. And that's why this is such a huge measure. And that's why we need to roll out an educational campaign to get those who are qualified or permanent residents, as well as those who are authorized under other provisions of the law, to register so that they can participate as a democratic primary voter and voters in the general elections. I will stop right there because
it's a huge. I can see that you are covering a very vast area of voting. Thank you so much, because I had a plan to ask you gradually all these topics, but you covered them in like a one shot. So first of all, yes, today is Martin Luther King Day. It's a very important day in American history, or I should say in the history of civil rights. It's a very a milestone day for all of us. And I would like to hear something about Martin Luther King Day from our very learned and beloved Murshid Alam Bhai. I would like to use both English and Bengali because our viewers are mixed. So we'll go bilingual as far as possible. Okay? Thank you. Murshid Bhai, I will come to you. আপনার কাছে আমি একটু জানতে চাইবো যে মার্টিন লুথার কিং ডে সম্পর্কে আমরা একটু জানতে চাই.
Special thanks to Rubai Rahman to organize this event today. It's really important because votes is the power. Citizenship is the power. Registration is the power. And get out and vote knowingly who will be my representative is a powerful. So this power has been created by a lot of people sacrificed, especially Martin Luther King. He is the civil rights leader on the earth who brought and encouraged and inspired the people to participate in the system. He's the one who followed the Mahatma Gandhi as his leader. he was not stopping until he was killed. He was doing the right thing for the people, those who don't have a voice. He was giving the voice to the people. And he saw in his eyes how people are discriminating in the schools. He saw in his eyes how people are discriminating to get a ride in the bus, public bus, in the bar, in the restaurant, in the educational places, recreational places. He couldn't take it because like I say, color people are taking for so long, 100 years. And he stood up and he educated the people, and he worked hard to organize these people, and then that thing is success. Actually, being it was successful to get the rights in 1960s. Again, that those who are the reactionaries, rightists, they are trying to take it back again in 60s, because over 450 laws, Republican rightist people, they passed the legislation in 21 states. Who is going to limit the people's rights? Especially color people will be discouraged to vote whom they want to vote for. So actually, now is the most important for us to have people like Martin Luther King. I'm so fortunate today we are here to celebrate the life of Martin Luther King and the people, those who followed him and give us the leadership and give us the rights. If Martin Luther King was not there and he wouldn't fight for us, today we couldn't get a chance to elect people we like to. Like it's in New York City, second time in a couple 100 years. Second mayor is one of the Black American, and I am very proud of to support him. Because,
Exactly.
And we, as a Democratic club, we endorse him, and we ask people to vote for him, and he won. Exactly. Not only that, we elect a first black man in a New York City, Queens County, Queens County president. Donovan Richard.
Right.
So people are now understand who they have to vote and who can fight for us. Yeah. And I'm very glad to say, our organization, we took a decision. Whoever was endorsed in last time, most of 99% of candidates won in the election, and they are helping our community. Even our community did very well. I think we elected two position in New York City. One, New York City Council from 36 district in Brooklyn, and one Queens County Supreme Court Justice Soma Said. So we are very proud of it to say.
Yeah, definitely. This is a big achievement for the New American Democratic Club. We, in the midst of this pandemic, we were trying to go out and knock the door, and we were endorsing our candidates, and we're introducing our candidates. And eventually, after the election, we saw that our chosen candidates were the winners. Of course, we feel very proud, very happy of that.
I'm appointed as a
transitioning team with the mayor of our big city,
great city, New York.
Great city of New York. I congratulate you, Murshid Bhai, for that.
Thank you.
And we have also our two guests here, Fahim Reza Noor. He is also a part of our New American Democratic Club, and also Salma Firdaus. She is also a part of our New American Democratic Club. Thank you for joining us here today. And today, it's a really a very momentous day, because today is the Martin Luther King Day. We really recognize that this is the day, is a turning point in a voter's life, in a civil citizen's right in America and all over the world. So we really feel humble that we are doing our webinar on the day of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Actually, Baji, I want to say, like attorney Gregory, she said she was advocating for disabled brother. Actually, I'm a disabled too. I have a Parkinson disease.
Exactly.
And actually, since 2010, I am declared as a disabled, and I am fighting for the Parkinson's people as well as those who are suffering from diabetics. I have 40 years of diabetics I'm suffering.
Exactly.
So I know how important is the people,
right
those who
for
are
the
fighting
disability. Yes, yes.
like Ubaya, she's fighting for her son all the time. And I do have all support for you because I understand the pain of this thing, you know.
Absolutely right, Murshid Bhai. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So, right for disability is a big issue. We have to do another webinar, Know Your Right for the People with Disability, because there is a huge group of people who are suffering from some kind of disability. It can be intellectual disability, it can be physical disability, or any other disability, who also has a right to vote. And we have to go in depth on that as well. So today I would like to have another questions. Before any local election, we get to know about or get to hear about early voting or absentee voting. So my question is to Ms. Lara Gregory about something you can tell about this early voting and absentee voting.
Okay, thank you, Rubaya, for that question. That's a really important question. As we have seen during the pandemic, early voting and has been really a vital part of the voting process. And we can foresee that for the very near future, a lot of people may actually want to vote early, whether in person or just by mailing in the ballot, or to just vote early by paper, or maybe even online electronically. So as you have seen, I don't know if a lot of people monitor the presidential elections, a lot of the votes that came in later on that were also a lot of the votes that came in for early voting were tended to vote a certain pattern, and those that voted in person tended to vote a certain way. The reason for that is that it's also tied to the fact that a lot of those who voted early were being careful with the pandemic that was going on. So they decided to either mail in their ballots early and just avoid going in person. Now, in New York, as a general rule, there should be a reason. There should be a reason for early voting, meaning they are sick or they are not present in the state where they're in. But there's been a proposal, I'm not even sure if it's already passed, that it will no longer, that to amend the law, that it will always be available for any reason to do early voting. I hope that answers your question, Rubaya.
All right. So let's hear from our Murshid Alam Bhai that what is his take on early voting and absentee voting?
Actually, early voting is anybody can vote when they have some special days. Actually, Board of Election declare the places where people can go for early vote, like I say, week or 2 weeks before they can vote it. And in other hand, the absentee ballots is basically those who are disabled, old people, those who cannot drive. There has to be established reason that you have to prove that this reason you cannot go in the voting center and you want to vote in mail. That's what they do. But here is the thing: is Republicans, they like to vote in the election day, most of the cases, and Democratic people are middle class or lower middle class, poor people. We are working people. We do more than one job most of the cases, or that we don't have a time to go for other work, or we get to be small business or whatever. So people like middle class people, they like to vote in whenever they get time, like a Saturday, Sunday, or evening, or in the early in the morning. That they try to stop actually by passing the laws in state, and they want to say all these things going to be controlled by the state legislature. So Republican can stop voting the Democratic people. They will not, if they don't get enough advantage, like you say, early voting or like in the evening voting, weekend voting, they will have a less people going to go for vote. They're going to be in favor of Republican can win the election, or they can control the election. So this is very complex situation is going on now. We get to understand, and we have to see if these difficulties is coming, we get to be more organized and more up to date about the laws, and we actually, as a public, we have to see what is the best way we can discharge our civil rights, discharge our rights as a voter, and how we can vote. So we get to be prepared, because odd always comes, but odd also goes when we can work and we can understand the political situation. Like it's in New York State, it will not have nothing going to happen, because New York State, actually most of the people, majority is a Democrat, and I think we can hold the Democratic governor, mayor, and all other positions. So, and also state legislature is a Senate and Assembly House. So I believe that we get to work hard in order to achieve our rights, and we get to understand how politics goes. But here is the thing: we are talking about the rights for the immigrant for the election. Actually, New York City passed a resolution. I was in favor of it about 20 years ago. We brought this thing up. At that time, I was working with New York Immigration Coalition very closely. But here is the situation. Actually, New York City Council passed the legislation, this piece of legislation, but mayor didn't sign yet. The mayor who left, the incumbent, he didn't sign. He left for the new mayor. I think here is a problem about the constitution, because constitution say voting right, those who are going to be vote, they have to be the citizen of the country.
Yes. Yes, that is the standard procedure. Yeah.
Right. So
right.
Now it's not a really, we got the rights to vote, those who are legal immigrants.
Exactly. It is still in the making. We are not sure whether it will come as a law or not. But with that, I would like to invite our other guest. আপনারা কেউ যদি কিছু বলতে চান ভোটিং রাইট সম্পর্কে, ফাহিম রেজা নূর ভাই, আপনি আছেন আমাদের সাথে। আপনি যদি মনে করেন যে মানে আপনার কি ধারণা, ভোটিং রাইট আমরা কি সবাই বুঝতে পারছি যে আমরা কি ভোটিং রাইটটা ঠিকভাবে এক্সারসাইজ করছি? যে আমাদের অনেকে আমরা সিটিজেন আছি, কিন্তু সিটিজেন থাকার পরেও লোকাল ইলেকশনগুলিতে কি আমরা যাই? কারণ দেখা যাচ্ছে যে আমরা বেশি উৎসাহ পাই যখন এটা প্রেসিডেন্ট ইলেকশনে আমরা সবাই খুব উৎসাহ নিয়ে ভোট দিতে যাচ্ছি, কিন্তু যখন এটা লোকাল, লাইক আমাদের সিটি কাউন্সিল, আমাদের জাজেস, আমাদের মেয়র, তারপরে কুইন্স বরো প্রেসিডেন্ট, এই সমস্ত যেই লোকাল ইলেকশনগুলি হয়, তখন কি আমরা অতটুকু উৎসাহ নিয়ে ভোট দিতে যাই? আপনার কি পর্যবেক্ষণ এই ব্যাপারে, ফাহিম রেজা নূর ভাই?
হ্যাঁ, ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে। সবথেকে দুঃখের ব্যাপার হচ্ছে এই যে আমরা কোনো সময় একতাবদ্ধ হতে পারি না, যার ফলে কবে কখন ভোট হচ্ছে এটা আমরা জানিও না। আর জানতে পারলেও যেরকম আপনাদের মতন যারা কমিউনিটিতে কাজ করে এবং ভোটের দিন বা কবে ভোট যেটা আর কি বলার চেষ্টা করে, খুব কম মানুষই সেটা কর্ণপাত করে, যার ফলে দেখা যায় যে এই লোকাল যে ইলেকশনগুলি হয় সেখানে ভোট সংখ্যা কম হয়, এবং বিশেষ করে এই সাউথ ইস্ট এশিয়ার লোকেরা ভোট দিতে খুব অনীহা প্রকাশ করে, কেননা তারা মনে করে যে ভোটের দিন ভোট দিতে যাব কেন বা যাই কেন, এরকম চিন্তা করে তাদের নিজের কাজেই ব্যস্ত থাকে। আর তার থেকে বড় কথা যে তারা খুব ছোট ছোট কাজ করে বলেই, সাধারণত কোনো কাজকেই আমি ছোট বলছি না, কিন্তু যেহেতু অন্য কাজ করে এজন্য তাদের ভোটের চাইতে ওই কাজের সময়টা খুব বেশি করে গুরুত্ব দেয়, যার ফলে ভোটের দিন খুব কম হয়। এটা গেল এক। আজকে যেহেতু মার্টিন লুথার কিং এর জুনিয়রের জন্মবার্ষিকী, সেই কারণে আমি তার বক্তৃতার যে কথাটা বারবার মনে হয় সেটা হচ্ছে ওই যে সে যে স্বপ্নের কথা বলেছিল, সেই স্বপ্নটা দেখেছিল সব মানুষরা, আই হ্যাভ এ ড্রিম। এই যে ড্রিম, সেই ড্রিমটা সবার কাছে উজ্জীবিত করেছিল, এবং সিভিল রাইটের উপরে যে মানুষ জানতে পেরেছিল, আগে জানা থাকলেও সেটা এত গভীরভাবে মানুষ সেটা বোঝেনি, যার ফলে সেটা প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়েছে, এবং সেই স্বপ্ন আমাদের মানুষরা দেখছে বলে আমি বিশ্বাস করি। এবং ভোটিং রাইটেও আশা করছি, লোকাল ভোটেও মানুষ আবার আপনাদের মতন যারা কাজ করছে তাদের অনুপ্রেরণায় ভিড় জমাবে এবং তারা ভোট কাস্ট করবে। ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you, Fahim Reza Bhai. Thank you very, very much. True, Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, and his dream came true. Not maybe, it is gradually coming true, because now we have colored people, we have the right to vote, women power, we are having right to vote, which we lacked maybe 100 years, 200 years back. So now gradually this is coming to a reality. But as I was telling Lara, that local election, people don't feel so encouraged to vote. So do you have any suggestions that how we can make people encouraged to go and vote in the local elections?
Yes, so many things that we can do, but I think it's also important to understand why a lot of people are also not that excited to vote, or because when it comes to immigrants, as an immigrant myself, I'm a first generation immigrant. They are more concerned in survival, they're working, so the tendency is not to focus or to have such a limited space or capacity to focus on politics, because that also takes time, right? But then the way to really address that is to have discussions and inform people on why it's important. Why is it important? For instance, like in classes, nobody wants just the mayor and the governor to be deciding what's good for schools, right? The parents, they want to have a say in that. Or for those who have disabilities, when they change the bus routes, you want to have a say in that, and you want to have a hand in selecting the city councilor who will represent you in the discussions in the city council when it comes to bus routes or just the allocation for health, So that the most important thing I'd say is really information and education in terms of getting people to register to vote. And second, I think so when it comes to registering to vote, what happens is that when people, let's go back to the rule where only citizens are allowed to or registered to vote, right? So when it comes to the citizenship oath taking, they're asked right there and then, do you want to register to vote? And then most people will of course say yes, sure. And then they will be asked, do you want to register as a Democrat or Republican? At which point a lot of the new citizens wouldn't know why they would want to be Democrats or why they would want to register in any other party, right? So it's also important that people are encouraged to know that it's important to register as a Democrat if they are in the New York State. Third, I think what's also important is holding regular dialogue with the new bill that was passed last December 2021 on allowing permanent residents to vote. There's a good leeway of time. It takes effect in 2023, and there's enough time to inform people or to increase also membership in democratic clubs so that people know why it's important for them to belong to it. I hope that answers your question.
Right. No, of course, because we have to create the awareness. At the bottom of the day, it is on us who are actually working with the community. আমাদের উচিত আমাদের অনেক বেশি সচেতনতা তৈরি করা. For the community, we have to go out, we have to let them know. But the reality, there are so many hurdles, so many challenges we have. Currently, for the last 2 years, we are struggling with COVID. This COVID has, in a way, crippled the whole idea of going out, meeting people, and letting them know their rights. So what we can do like seminars we are doing right now, webinars, podcasts, whatever we can do to reach out to people and let them know their rights, what they can do, they can make a difference in people's life. So we'll be coming very end of our show right now. So I would like to know if anybody has any questions, and so that our learned speakers can give you answers. At the end, I would like to talk about vaccination awareness a little bit, because as voting right is important, similarly in this pandemic, vaccination is also very important to keep ourselves and our family, our neighbors to be safe and go out for vote. So I would like our speakers to say 2 words, like a minute or 2 on vaccination. I'll start with Murshid Alam Bhai.
Actually, vaccination is the most important thing now in order to live good health. Good health, I mean that out of coronavirus. Because according to the scientist and doctor, they found this is the fact. If you have a 2 shot and booster, if you take, you have a less problem if this virus attacked you. By the way, actually, I was attacked by coronavirus when it was in the highest form of pandemic situation.
Infection, yeah.
Right, and I survived. My wife and I both were,
Yeah, we remember it was a very dark moment. We were all panicking that what will happen, how you will be coming out of this.
I have underlying heavy problems, so
yeah.
Anyhow I survived. So I'm asking other to do the same, take the vaccination, and be very careful and use the mask. But mask should be 95. K95 is the best one.
Yeah.
Because the normal one, the one is surgical mask, that's not good to protect you from this virus.
Or maybe double the mask, double the mask, because so many people don't have access to the N95. Maybe KN95 is a better option if you can get it. So yeah, of course, we should try to put on mask in a public gathering, wash our hands, and use sanitizer.
Be careful. Actually, you have to be careful. You have to take care of yourself. You have to try to avoid any infection from anybody else, because
exactly.
You may carry for somebody else or somebody is carrying for you.
Right.
So anyway, in both direction is risky, so we should be careful. Right. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Murshid Alam Bhai. And anybody else would like to say something about the vaccination awareness?
I think there has not been any life here or elsewhere in the world that has not been touched by COVID, meaning they either that person actually had COVID or have had loved ones who had COVID or friends who had COVID. And our family, actually, I lost my brother due to COVID. He is in Manila. And that's why it is important. Even a year ago, we did, in our community, we conducted a campaign on don't hesitate, vaccinate. And at the time, we have been saying that the vaccine attenuates the symptoms. What does that mean? It means it minimizes the symptoms that has been the cause of the loss of lives of a lot of people. And now, a year after, it has been proven that indeed the vaccine does that. It minimizes the loss of lives because it addresses the symptoms and makes it more minimal. And of course, I echo your words as well as the words of our dear esteemed